Joe Burrow made quite a name for himself. He's probably going to be the number 1 overall pick. 5 touchdown passes, 6 overall because he ran in for another in the national championship game. He had a monster, not just regular season, but postseason as well.
Yeah, he was the presumptive number 1 pick heading into the playoffs, and he just cemented that. Remember, he's a local kid. He's from the Cincinnati area. Cincinnati has the top overall pick. It just all works. And when you watch Joe Burrow, here's the thing, Lance. The physical gifts don't wow you. He doesn't have that cannon for an arm. He's not, 6'6". He doesn't run a 4.3 like a Lamar Jackson. But he does everything well. He's accurate. He makes great decisions under pressure. He navigates the pocket. He runs when he has to. And the ball always goes where it's supposed to go. He looks like an NFL quarterback. A comparison for me, and this is high praise, I understand, it reminds me a lot of Drew Brees, where the pieces don't jump out at you, but put it all together, it's a great package for a quarterback.
Well, and also it's extremely encouraging, John. He's handled the spotlight. No better place to deliver than with the national semifinals and the championship game. 14 touchdowns he accounted for in just those 2 games.
Now, the only thing that maybe some people might bring up, he's only played at this level for 1 season. He did start for LSU last year, wasn't nearly as effective. Got put in a different offense, and all of a sudden, Heisman Trophy, looks like the best player in college football.
Yeah, started his career with Ohio State, then ultimately transferred, but it's been quite a season for him. Most passing touchdowns in a season, most touchdowns overall in a season in FBS history as well. All right, well, one of his best targets throughout the course of the season, as well as in the game for the national championship, was Justin Jefferson, junior wide receiver, 6'3", 192. This is a very big target, and he has a tremendous radius that he showcased all year long.
I'm sure people that watch the game are saying, why are you talking about JaMarr Chase? He had 200 yards, touchdowns all over the place. He was unstoppable. Yes. The problem is that he's only a sophomore, so he's not draft eligible. You'll have to wait till 2021 to talk about him, and he's really overshadowed Justin Jefferson. But Jefferson had a monster game in the first round of the college football playoffs, where he carried LSU in that game. You mentioned his number, 6'3", 190. In a normal year, Lance, he's a guaranteed first-round pick. He's a potential first or second wide receiver off the board. The thing about it, this year, and we'll talk about a wide receiver that was on Clemson a little bit later, it's such a deep wide receiver class. He might drop into the early second round. He might be a late first-round pick. He's a very good player. He's got speed to go down the field. You mentioned the height at 6'3". He's a good all-around player. He will be a very sought-after player in the draft this year. End of night 1 or beginning of night 2.
He had 9 receptions for over 100 yards in the national championship game. He doubled and tripled his stats from 2018 to 2019. It's remarkable the transition that he's made. Final player to keep close tabs on at LSU. Let's go to the defensive side of the ball, John, and that is senior corner Christian Fulton, 6 feet, 200 pounds, suffered a season-ending ankle injury in 2018 after playing 10 games, but was an All-American in the preseason coming in. His numbers don't jump off the page, but he's a really good cover guy.
And these are the type of players we're used to talking about from LSU, right? Guys like defensive backs, not offensive players. LSU traditionally a defensive program until this year when Joe Burrow turned it into an offensive juggernaut. Yeah, he's a good cover guy. And I think what I liked out of him in the national championship game is that he gave up some catches in the first half of that game. He got beat a couple times. If you're a cornerback, though, what do you need to do? You need to settle down. You need to get your business in order, come back and have a good second half. And that's exactly what he did. He buried the mistakes, played better football in the second half, and he's another guy whose name could be called at the end of round 1 in this year's draft. And I'm going to throw in a bonus play here real quick, Lance. Fellow defensive back, Delpit, the safety, another player, probably going to be the first safety off the board in this year's class. Not quite as good of a year in 2019 as he had in 2018, but another defensive back from LSU that could go high in this year's draft.
Well, let's stay on the defensive side of the ball, but now head over to Clemson, and this may be the guy to watch in the NFL draft. I know there's a lot of talk, John, about Chase Young, but Isaiah Simmons, the Clemson junior linebacker, I think his stock has rose game in and game out. This is not your typical linebacker. He's listed at 6'4", 230, but he really could probably play safety at the NFL level as well.
Lance, he plays slot corner for them. I mean, he literally lines up all over the field. He lines up single high safety, slot. He blitzes. He plays linebacker. He is a do-everything player. It reminds me of a more polished version of what Jabril Peppers was talked about when he was kind of in Michigan. He did a lot of different things, except Simmons is faster. He can cover better. And like I said, he's covering wide receivers and tight ends in the slot. He can play linebacker. He can play safety. This guy does everything. He is the epitome of a modern-day NFL linebacker that can do a bunch of different things. He's a smart player. He's athletic. Like I said, blitz, cover, stop the run, you name it, he can do it. If you want a Swiss Army knife type of defense where you can have guys do different things, he's the perfect guy to help you disguise what you're trying to do because you could use him in so many different spots where he can be effective.
7 sacks, 3 interceptions on the season. That speaks volumes of his versatility. Another guy is comparison, Chargers safety Derwin James, who went in the first round in 2018. All right, let's go to the offensive side of the ball for Clemson. And we talked about Justin Jefferson earlier for LSU. How about T. Higgins for Clemson, the junior wide receiver, 6'4", 215. And this is also a versatile player because, as we saw in the national championship game, they use him as a runner out of the backfield, and also clearly he is a receiving threat down the field.
Yeah, and he played through an injury in that game too. He kind of got that helmet to his thigh and knee area in the middle of that game, came back, played through it. Big guy. You saw him make that one play for the touchdown down the field. He big boyed and bullied people after the catch. He's not going to be the guy that's going to run in your 4.3s or low 4.4s at the combine, or at least that's not the expectation. But he's got size, he's got strength. He will make contested catches, kind of like Courtland Sutton with the Broncos, where he's that bigger guy. He's not going to be your burner, but he can make those type of contested catches, big plays down the field, but he also has the size and the strength to be that possession guy and in cuts on slants in the middle to convert some of those third downs. So T. Higgins, another guy that will be a first-round pick in this year's draft, and maybe not the top wide receiver off the board, but probably one of the first 3 or 4.
Well, he certainly has a knack for finding the end zone. 13 touchdowns in 15 games this season. And another player who has found the end zone an awful lot for Clemson, running back Travis Etienne. And this is somebody who had over 100 scrimmage yards in the national championship game against LSU. He also does a little bit of everything. I'm not trying to really raise his stock, but I've heard some comparisons to Alvin Kamara of the Saints, and I don't think that's a stretch, John.
We didn't talk about this before the show. That was the comparison I was going to give, and I hadn't read it anywhere else. That's just one that I saw. I don't think he has quite as much power as Kamara does, who can break some tackles with his strength. But boy, Travis Etienne's got speed.
Yeah.
This guy, straight ahead, he is going to run in the high 4.3s, low 4.4s at the combine. This guy has speed to burn. And in the modern NFL, where you want your running back to not just be a runner, but a threat as a receiver out of the backfield, he's your guy. He can catch the ball down the field. He can catch screens, run after the catch. He can do it all. I'm not sure if he's going to be your 18 to 22 carry, grinded out type of running back, but if you put him with a between the tackles guy and he's kind of your slash weapon, to catch 7 or 8 balls, run it 12 to 15 times, and make some plays in space, he is a big play threat. He will be a top 5 running back, maybe even top 3 or top 2 in this year's draft.
Yeah, he's a weapon, and he has certainly showcased that throughout the season. 8 100-yard games, 2 200-yard games, and he's accounted for 19 touchdowns in 2019. So that is a look at the top prospects from the national championship game from LSU and Clemson to look out for coming your way in the NFL draft. He is John Schmeelk. I'm Lance Medow. For all the latest on the NFL draft, stay locked to Giants.com.
Hey, Giants fans. Saquon Barkley here. You want to see more videos? Subscribe below.